These are always some of the worst videos we do have to make, and I always do and ah whether we should focus our content on this. But then I'm like, if we just start talking about SmackDown as if nothing's happening, well, that feels more insulting, right? If I got released from WWE and a bunch of content creators just like, oh man, I'm not going to talk about that, I don't think that would be very fair. But yes, as happens most years, I suppose, it was time, is that the right term, for the post-WrestleMania releases. I've got a list up here because I don't want to forget anyone, but it does mean that Shayna Baszler, Dakota Kai, Braun Strowman, Kaden Carter, Katana Chance, Gigi Dolan, Eddie Thorpe, Javier Bernal, Oro Mensah, Wolfgang, Mark Coffey, Joe Coffey, Cora Jade, and Riley Osborne have all very sadly been let go from WWE. Now, of course, first and foremost, we send all the best to these people. They're all going to land on their feet should they wish to in wrestling. They may have different plans because you don't fluke your way to NXT, you don't fluke your way to WWE. I think people forget this. It is the top of the industry, and if you get there, it's because you have something, or, but it could be one of many things that you admit a quality that WWE is like, oh my gosh, we should look into these people. And I'm only going to focus on a few, which makes me an idiot. But I think someone like Shayna Baszler was untapped potential for sure. I know when she was first brought up to the main roster, she was treated like a killer, but we never followed up on it. It was one of those things was, oh, she didn't get over in 3 weeks, and she was always moved further down the pecking order than I thought she should have done. I always think she had a massive upset because she's so unique and she's so different. Dakota Kai can probably go and be a world champion in any other country she wants to. Country, but company is what I meant to say. She can go on an all-time indie run. I think she has that much talent. And Braun Strowman it feels a bit like a kick in the teeth. Now, I've used this moment to say, yes, WWE, a corporation, they can fire and hire as many people as they want, but it doesn't mean it's not sad. It doesn't mean it's not disappointing. You always get people sort of tweeting or responding to you saying, oh man, they can do whatever they want. Well, of course they can. But you can also be like, man, that sucks, because it does suck. These are human beings first and foremost who have lost their jobs. That's always going to be incredibly hard to deal with. I've lost my job before. It puts you into a right state of anxiety. But you could even argue there's a different side to this because it's your dream job. So you may feel like, I've made it, I've done it, there's nothing else for me to do apart from work hard and try and aim for more opportunities within that ecosystem. But I bet at least for a little while, mentally, some of these guys and girls would be like, oh man, where else do I go? Like, you have to have those 90 days, I suppose, or however long you get to try and make sense of it all. So if you are wishing someone else to be released, I can't stand that too, or this person get released and not that person. They're real people. So maybe we should just take a moment rather than just spout out these mad opinions. Anyway, going back to Braun Strowman, it kind of felt like he had done as much as he could for WWE the last year. We are speculating here, but it does feel like he's had some problems with his knees due to his size. But he still went out there in that Jacob for 2 feud and the Bronson Reed feud, and he just gave everything. Or at least that's how it felt like. So to all of a sudden be on the chopping block, well, of course it sucks to see. And then people bring up, oh, but he did this and he did that. I don't care. I'm talking about the real life. I doubt his real life name is Braun Strowman. Maybe it is. To go through all of that, it just sucks. No matter what has been said in the past or what may be said in the future, I just think it is a difficult situation to talk about. And it's nothing to do with money, and it's nothing to do with budget cuts because WWE is making more cash than ever. But again, this is where I get into this weird 180 thing. Nobody wants to lose their job. I never want anyone to lose their job. But if it does mean someone like Dakota Kai especially, who would just vanish from TV for no reason, can finally be put back in the public eye, I actually think in a few months' time, that will be good for her. And she can easily make her way back to WWE, should she so wish, because she's got the goods. And we never really gave her that proper babyface push on the main roster. And I always thought that's where she was going to fit in well. And you move on to someone like Cora Jade, it kind of just feels to me like it was because of all those injuries. And that's even harder to get your head around. It's like Nixon Newell, who got released in the last batch. Those two easily could have been a mainstay in WWE. But when you get hurt all the time, it does derail your momentum. But just to make it very clear, this will become my catchphrase, you never want anybody to be released. I mean, like Kaden Carter, Katana Chance, if they want to remain a tag team, they can do everything. They got all the crazy moves. That's why it's mad when these people, they're on TV, they vanish from TV, they're on TV, they vanish from TV. It's almost like a sort of Damocles, because eventually you do fall into the abyss, you're not being used. When all of a sudden WWE decides it's time to let people go, they go, well, that person has been on TV in ages. Like, yes, but you didn't put them on TV in ages. So I just wanted to start this video by sending my best to all of them. Once again, I truly think all of them could go anywhere and do a great job. I have this great vision in my head. Again, she needs to decide what to do with this bald idiot. But Dakota Kai is a Knockouts champion. I think she could lift TNA up a few notches too. Not because TNA sucked. TNA's doing better than ever right now in many ways. But I don't know, man. I just think there's something there that nobody has ever lent into. And if somebody wants to jump on Shayna Baszler and make her a heel that runs through people, oh my gosh, I tell you, it's going to be great. I even like that SummerSlam match with Ronda Rousey. Anytime I say that, people get so mad at me. But I did, because I watch so much wrestling. If people can come up with something different, they can come up with something creative, I'm going to do the dance of joy. So, one last time, I know they're going to do great. I hope hope that it opens so many more doors. And like I said, in a year's time, they're like, man, that's the best thing that ever happened to me, which is not wanting to talk about myself too much. When I lost my job, it made me go, you know what, I'm going to start making YouTube content properly. And here we are now. So in many ways, that's to blame and you should be mad at it. I do think there was a knock-on effect to SmackDown because, again, when you hear real life news, it's like, why do I care about my predetermined program? But on top of that, it was a little bit of a mundane episode, which is a shame because we're only 2 weeks away or removed from WrestleMania. I did like everything we did with LA Knight, Damian Priest, Jacob Fatu, Sikoa, and Drew McIntyre. A four-way for the US title kind of feels to me like it works at the moment as we try and settle people in their actual positions. I kind of feel like Drew McIntyre is just treading water here, because when Cody Rhodes comes back to TV, which I don't think is till May 19th or something crazy, I think it's going to be a Drew versus Cody feud. Again, I'm totally speculating here, but why not put him in a position like this where he's probably going to get screwed again? I don't think he's going to be the US champion. Way too soon to take it off Jacob Fatu. But LA Knight does us the wonderful service of coming out and reminding us the show did happen last week. We're not ignoring it anymore. He's mad at Damian Priest for interfering. Damian Priest comes out. He says, dude, you were going to lose anyway. They get into a big war of words and they have a really good match. And of course, around about 10 minutes in, Solo Sikoa interrupts. Now, I said this on Ups and Downs. Make sure you subscribe to What Culture Wrestling and please do subscribe to me too and share this video. Why not? Would you like to hear a positive bald man speaking about wrestling? Do I know the guy for you? But WWE is doing this finish too much. It has become the 2022, I believe, is when they did over like 1,000 roll-up finishes. It wasn't that many. But all of a sudden, I've got to that point now where I sit down. I'm like, well, someone's going to interfere. Someone's going to get involved. And next week, we're doing Nia Jax versus Jade Cargill for the #1 contendership. I have no faith that match ends with the winner or the loser. And if I'm wrong, awesome. I don't care about that. I want to be wrong. But I'm now just expecting people to run in. So even when it does make sense, it's still a bit like, oh, man, that's a little bit disappointing, especially with LA Knight versus Damian Priest, because they talked about it in their promo off. You lost at WrestleMania, or you lost at WrestleMania 2. And Wade Barrett on commentary was like, oh my gosh, they did both lose. One of these guys is going to have to get a win. Otherwise, they could be left in no man's land. Now, I understand you can't have a winner or a loser here because they want to do the four-way. But at the same time, WWE has done nonsense like that before. Rhea Ripley lost her championship and still wiggled her way into that triple threat. Thank goodness she did. Best match of the weekend. But I just think there's a better story to be told. If Damian Priest, for example, comes out of WrestleMania, he loses to Drew McIntyre, he loses here, what am I going to do? It's probably going to elicit more sympathy for him, which is what a babyface needs. This match also has no jeopardy, because again, Jacob Fatu is going to win that thing. But LA Knight, I think, is coming out smelling of roses, even though he lost his championship, because he just knows who he is. So, because he kind of treads that line character-wise, he's a babyface, super babyface, but he has heel tendencies. I don't know, man. There's just something about him. I think he's doing really well at the moment. Jacob Fatu is on fire. Solo Sikoa is the most secret person, entertaining-wise, that nobody talks about. And Drew McIntyre wasn't even on this show. I don't say it's a good thing or a bad thing, because people should be allowed times off, but he'll be back next week, right? But it was an okay angle. It was decent. Again, we set up the four-way later, and it was Solo Sikoa that screwed over Jacob Fatu here, because Nick Aldis was going to do a three-way, and Solo was like, wait a minute, I thought Drew McIntyre technically won that match next week. Nick was like, all right, it's a four-way. So, I mean, I'm sure that Solo and Jacob will probably fall out before the next pay-per-view cycle after Backlash. You could do that match and it would be totally fine. We also had Pretty Deadly versus Fraxia, and Fraxia are doing really well. Goes back to what I just said. Again, they got 2 wins now. People are like, oh my gosh, they are so good. There was some weird thing here where Elton Prince didn't kick out, but he also had blood over his face. I'm always going to say the same things about these. Human beings makes mistakes, and if it looks like someone has just been bludgeoned in the face, probably go, well, he may be knocked a little bit loosey-goosey. Fraxia hit their finisher 1, 2, 3. I think we're quite clearly building to them versus the Street Profits, because the commentators kept talking about the SmackDown tag team titles. And I thought it was a little bit of a letdown, and this only just popped into my head, that none of those teams from the TLC were on this show. I think there should have been a promo or a video or something to kind of continue on, because that match was brilliant, right? 5 stars, absolutely. But the tag team scene on both brands is still a little bit lackluster, especially the women's one. Hell yeah to Liv Morgan, who's landed a pretty damn cool role in a film. But now it just means there's no women's tag team matches. I don't want WWE to strip them because I think they're so good, her and Raquel. But it would have been nice if we could have come up with something, but what are we going to do? I suppose it was a US title heavy show and the women's championship too. Because we had Zelina Vega versus Piper Niven. If Piper Niven won, she'd be the new #1 contender. This was so much fun. The match was fun. The promo beforehand was fun, where Chelsea's secret Hervis are now in mourning and they think it's collusion. And Chelsea thought she was going to get a rematch. And when Nick Aldis said, no, Piper's going to get it instead, Piper Niven's reaction was brilliant. Like, so these three are absolutely awesome. And the match was fun too. Chelsea Green screws over. Her and Piper bump together 1, 2, 3. Zelina Vega retains. We're on the cusp of something here, right? With all of these people, they're doing great work. They have fun matches. I think they all leave their egos at the door, so it's all about the show. But we need more promo time. We need more stories. I think if we could add some depth here, like we do for other championships, this thing could just zoom upwards. At the moment, it feels like we're playing hot potato a bit. Now, I am being unfair based on this episode of SmackDown, but I think because everything they did was so much fun, I was like, oh man, please do more, right? Please do more. So I hope that it does happen. But it did kind of go past without much note. And that's what, in terms of angles, it was the WWE Women's title, like I say. Nia Jax comes out, she's mad, she wants Tiffany Stratton. Tiffany Stratton comes out and says, oh, I'm a different person now. I'll whoop your ass. And Naomi comes out and says, I hate that Jade Cargill. I won a championships. Jade Cargill comes out and they all brawl. Now, this led to a tag team match later, which I never like. It was a WWE trope for like 2018. I never want to get back to, oh my gosh, it's going to turn into a random tag team match. And like I say, it's Nia versus, who the hell is it? Nia versus somebody next week, Jade, for the #1 contendership. But given that it ended, the tag team match happened. The tag team match was fine. I didn't think it was much of a main event, but nothing on this show really would have sort of slotted in there. But it does end with Jade Cargill powerbombing Nia Jax, 1, 2, 3. Naomi comes in, she whips some ass, she holds the belt for the women's championship over Jade Cargill, who isn't even the champion. So I'd have to presume that Jade Cargill lost here because Nia Jax is going to win next week. Also, that's heel versus face because Jade and Tiffany are both faces. But the fact that Naomi did that kind of makes me think they could get involved. Could be a 4-way. Are we just setting up challenges for Tiffany Stratton to last us the next 4 months? I don't know. But I like Nia Jax a lot. We talked about this before. I did a whole video on it. I just feel like it's too soon to go back to Nia Jax versus Tiffany Stratton because it already feels like I've gone back 6 months. Sometimes you need to keep people separate for a long ass time, which is why I think Naomi should have beaten Jade Cargill at WrestleMania, even by, cheating or whatever. That's the one time we should have done it because then she could be like, man, I get a title shot. And that way, heel Naomi has won her first match, which is always important. Once you do go bad guy, she could probably lose to Tiffany Stratton. I think that would make much difference. And it would just have been a nice sort of smoother way to come out of WrestleMania. And it's not a fresh match per se, but Tiffany Stratton being established as a babyface and Naomi being established as a heel, I do think that freshens it up a little bit. So, again, it's all fine. I just think we can do more there, and I think we can throw a few more extra people into the mix, which oddly is what we're doing on Raw. So maybe we kind of should have drawn a line down that and thrown Roxanne Perez or somebody else onto SmackDown. But it was fine. Like, it's not bad, which was the same as Santos Escobar versus Rey Fenix. This feels to me like we're going to end with the Lucha Brothers reuniting, because Andrade keeps getting a Legado del Fantasma's face, and Santos Escobar is just having a meltdown. But as there is 3 of them, they could take on the Lucha Brothers and Andrade, which would be pretty damn good. But basically, Santos and Rey Fenix fall out. They have a match. Rey Fenix wins. Santos Escobar then goes and falls out with anybody. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. It's really good, and you should go out of the way to see the match, because I think it hit a certain level. But I can't give you any other information, apart from that it may end with Phoenix and Penta getting back together, or for the first time in WWE, which of course is going to be awesome. But then I think, should we hold off till SummerSlam to do that? Because it feels like one of those events where we should build. Although Triple H does like taking his time, so we don't know. And you can copy and paste everything I just said for The Miz and Aleister Black. Fine match, nothing wrong with it. The Miz is a hero for understanding his role. Aleister Black was doing cool stuff, like he shrugged off the kicks and he did a cartwheel out of the skull crushing finale. Awesome Black match. Match better than last week, 1, 2, 3. And then Aleister Black stares off with Carmella Hayes. Now, I do want to see that match, but then we fall back into that pattern of what Carmella Hayes shouldn't be losing, and, Aleister Black has to be winning. Are we just going to do a DQ with The Miz? So there are elements to WWE that I think could be smoothened out, but I always kind of expect this after WrestleMania. Even I feel this way a little bit. I think there's always a bit of a lull. You've consumed so much wrestling and you put your adrenaline through the roof and you got so excited. There has to be a come down on the other side. Otherwise, we would probably all die. And that was essentially the long and short of it on SmackDown. It desperately needs to go back to 2 hours. I try not to go on about that because I talk about it every single week. But if you were condensed this all into 2 hours, it would have been way better and way more fun. And of course, it was sort of bookended. Not bookended. In the middle was a Randy Orton promo. John Cena wasn't there. Not the end of the world. Randy Orton cuts a good promo. There's not even that much to say about it. Like, he focused on the fact that John Cena manipulates his merchandise in order to rip off kids. So we've essentially taken everything that John Cena used to say and we've flipped it on its head. Randy Orton is going to win at Backlash. So the most exciting thing, and again, I'm going to do a whole video about this because I think it's great, is that R-Truth found Randy Orton after this and said, man, you leave John Cena alone. Jimmy Uso pops in and like, dude, you got to shut up. He's going to kick you in the head. And Truth is like, no, man, John Cena's my guy. Now, because obviously there's going to be some sort of shenanigans at Backlash, I'm now thinking R-Truth could screw over Randy Orton to allow John Cena to win. Other way around. Did I say it the right way? John Cena wins, Randy Orton gets screwed over. I'm very tired. I know loads of people are going to be rolling their eyes at that. You should do. But because I am a fan of chaos and because it would be such a ludicrous idea, I sort of want it. And it puts R-Truth in a position I think he deserves to be. And maybe John Cena then turns on him on Raw and beats him up to try and get mega heel heat. I wouldn't mind it at all. So, yes, if you are not intending to watch this episode of SmackDown, I would just skip it. Not a lot does happen. It's one of those weird ones that kind of slap bang right in the middle, but we will see. It probably needed a Drew McIntyre. It probably needed a John Cena. It probably needed a Cody Rhodes. Randy Orton is a massive star, of course, but Raw is loaded with star power at the moment. Although they didn't have CM Punk and Roman Reigns, so you can argue it. I do think we're in the WrestleMania lull. But let me know your feelings in the comments below. You can write whatever you want. Like the video, share the video, please do subscribe. Click the video on the screen to get even more of my content, and of course, just hit the notification bell and all of those buttons. Otherwise, it is GorillaMind.com/Simon. You can time to get 10% off. These are supplements I use, and they are great. I promise you, they will not let you down. Simon316 on all social media, and then Simon J. Miller on TikTok. Simon Miller on Cameo. Prices are about to go down to $10. Take advantage of that. ProWrestlingTees.com/Simon Miller. SimonMiller.BigCartel.com for merchandise. Please do support me. It allows this YouTube channel to continue on during such, what's the word I'm looking for? It's rocky waves at the moment in YouTube world. Not that I'm trying to lean upon you. I'm just saying it's a scary old thing out there. So thank you for watching is what I am trying to get at, because the view is the most important thing. Have lovely days. I'll see you soon.